Hello, dear Polymer Clay enthusiasts. I'm Michaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and I'm back with more inspiration for work with Polymer Clay. I have prepared a new tutorial for you, and I hope you like. And I encourage you to use your scrap clay, maybe some metal leaf, and of course wire to make beautiful earrings, or I don't know, clay components. Um, as always, I hope that you will use this idea in your work with clay. So let's dive in. This is the perfect project for your beautiful pieces of scrap clay, and you will also need some wire, and I'm working with 19 gauge silver color wire, and several sizes of round cutters will do. So I've started by using my round nose pliers and forming a spiral, forming the center of the spiral, but then I am going to use my hands to work the spiral shape. I don't want a perfect spiral shape, I want a rather organic form for my spiral. And I'm working with an arm length of wire. And I'm going to make a spiral that will fit the largest round cutter that I'm going to use for the project. And then you'll just have to use your flush cutters and remove the excess wire. And don't forget to press the spiral onto your working table to make sure that it is flat, because this is important. We are going to capture the spiral between two layers of clay, and it is very important to have a flat piece. So for the back of the piece, I'm going to marble some scrap clay, the same scrap clay that I'm using for the project. So I'm sticking with the same color combination. I've passed the clay through the setting number 2 of my Atlas pasta machine, and then I've just used a dotting tool to make a spiral on the back of the piece. So this is going to be the back of the piece. And I will cut this round shape in two, and I'm going to use half of it, and I flip the piece on the other side because I want to have the textured half spiral on the back, and I'm gently pressing the spiral into this layer of clay. Now I'm using scrap pieces from my latest project, and you'll have a link in the description as well to see how I ended up with these scraps of clay. And I'm using the smallest round cutter to make the piece in the center. And as you can see, I'm using a piece that was in fact scrap clay decorated with a silver metal leaf, and then I've used ethnic borders Lisa Pavelka texture plate to make this impression. But I intend to put these patchwork pieces on top of a very thin layer of polymer clay. This is a polymer clay layer pass through the setting number 4 or 5 of my pasta machine, and I've used the same size, my largest round cutter that I'm using for the project. And then I am going to decorate this piece with beautiful areas of my scrap clay. So first you'll have to warm up a little bit your clay, and my clay has not been sitting for very long, so it's very easy to just warm it with my hands and press it slightly, and it's easier to warm it up. If you have scrap clay from projects that you've made a long time ago, you have to take the time and warm up your clay. And I'm just playing with round cutters and making interesting decorations for this half moon shape. And I try to have the same height for these pieces if possible. If not, you are going to see the differences if you're using scrap clay with different heights. You'll see the differences between these layers. You might want to back up these pieces with some extra scrap clay if you want the same height for your pieces, or you might want to play with the effect that you get when using clay, and you have like a wavy design in the end. So as you can see, I'm just cutting out pieces from my beautiful scrap clay, and I'm doing my best to decorate the piece. And I'm using the same round cutter to remove the excess clay. And when you're happy with the look of the cutout pieces, you should press everything together gently. And in fact, I'm pressing the piece against my working table, and I'm making sure that everything is pressed together, and then I'm using again my round cutter to trim off the excess. And then I'm putting more scrap clay through the pasta machine. This time I'm using scrap clay in one solid color, and I'm going to use parts of the scrap clay from the previous project, and you can see it has silver metal leaf beads inside, and I'm working with the same color combinations. And I'm decorating this sheet of polymer clay because I intend to make a border for half of the piece, for the polymer clay half of the piece. So I've used the wavy undulating blade to cut out this thin strip of clay, and I'm using it to make a nice border for the piece. . and you'll just have to press everything together very gently, of course. And you have to use your craft knife and remove the excess clay, and make sure that the interior part of the piece, in those areas where the metal spiral and the clay joins together, you have to check out if this part looks okay, if you need to do some trimming. I'm very happy with my mismatched pieces for the earrings, and I'm going to use the other half of the piece to make a small bead for my earrings. So I'm cutting it in half. This time I am going to use the textured part for the face of the bead, and again I'm using a smaller round cutter to cut out the half circle part of the bead. And again I'm going to use the same size of wire and my round nose pliers to make the wire spiral. This time I'm using pliers and I'm trying to make a smaller spiral. And I did the same. I'm going to put the spiral between two layers of polymer clay. So again, I'm putting the scrap clay through the pasta machine, and I'm going to use some marbled scrap clay to make the back of the piece and to sandwich these smaller spirals into two layers of polymer clay. I'm using the same cutter that I've used to make the smaller pieces. And you'll just have to align these pieces very well and smooth off the edges. And if you want, you can texture the back of the beads. And I'm also pressing slightly on those layers to make sure that the spiral is well trapped inside. I'm doing the same thing for the second bead. I'm not going to make a border for these smaller beads. I like them as they are. You could make the same style of border using the wavy blade if you want. And then I will attach them together. At first I wanted to use jump rings, but then I've decided to use liquid clay and join them together. So I'm in a sense I'm sandwiching the spirals using the bottom clay for the upper spiral and the top clay for the bottom spiral, and I've made a small cut on the margin to be able to press the wires into the clay. And I've used liquid clay to make sure that they are well connected and they are going to stay together. So and then I've baked the pieces for 45 minutes at the temperature recommended by the polymer clay manufacturer, and I decided to finish my pieces by applying some varnish. You will have to use varnish to protect your pieces if you are using silver leaf or any color of metal leaf. And then I just used earring findings to finish these pieces into a beautiful mismatched uh, clay earrings. Thank you for watching the tutorial. I hope you will use this idea in your work with Polymer Clay, and I hope you liked this inspiration. Please press the like button if you like the idea, and don't forget to subscribe to receive more inspiration for your work with Polymer Clay. Thank you, and stay tuned for more inspiration for your work with Polymer Clay.